Alright, now that we've got all the horror movies that I've seen that I needed to review out of the way, let's go with the non-horror movies that I've yet to review. And I've got 4 more today, so let's just get to it. And yeah, I do not consider The Last Witch Hunter a horror movie. In fact, it's more like a fantasy. The Last Witch Hunter stars Vin Diesel, and it feels like it's another movie that's trying to start up a new franchise, but then ultimately probably failing because, well, it's not getting all that good reviews, and I don't think it's getting all that much money in the box office, so I don't think we're going to get a sequel to this. But like I said, The Last Witch Hunter stars Vin Diesel, and he plays a witch hunter who is apparently based off of his D&D character. Who would have guessed? At the beginning, we see that this witch hunter lives in medieval times because they're dealing with the Black Plague, and they go about trying to eliminate the Witch Queen who has started this Black Plague and is trying to destroy all humanity. And guess what? Vin Diesel is the one that actually destroys the Witch Queen in that scene. But before he destroys her, she curses him with immortality. Yeah, trust me. Immortality is a curse for Vin Diesel because all he wanted to do was destroy the witch to avenge his wife and child, and then maybe he could die later and then be with his family. So the fact that he's immortal and he can't die is pretty much a curse. But anyway, we jump to modern times. He's still working as a witch hunter, but now they're more of a law enforcement between this truce of witches and the priests, because there are good witches out there that don't want to use magic for evil. But unfortunately, there are witches that want to go back to the old ways and resurrect the Witch Queen. And so now it becomes a race against time to try to figure out what this rebellion wants to do, how they're going to go about resurrecting the Witch Queen, and trying to stop them. Pretty simple and basic premise. Now I can totally see why The Last Witch Hunter could be disappointing and boring to some people. For a movie that stars Vin Diesel and quite possibly meant to be an action film, there's not as much action as you would like. And surprisingly, it has a lot of similarities to a few young adult fantasy novels. There's a lot of moments where I felt like, hey, this could have been possibly based off of a young adult novel, even though it wasn't, right? I don't think it is. But it has that same feeling that you're in a modern age, but underneath it, in the dark, in the shadows, beyond what we know of human life, there is some sort of magical world living among us. This one happens to be witches, kind of like Harry Potter. And honestly, having just played The Wolf Among Us not too long ago, finally, there's a lot of similarities to The Wolf Among Us with The Last Witch Hunter. Now, I'm not saying it's anywhere near as good as The Wolf Among Us, but most of the things that Vin Diesel does in this movie is sort of trying to uncover this possible rebellion of witches and investigating and doing some sort of detective work by finding traces of magic, questioning and interrogating other witches, trying to find out who's involved. It's definitely more of a mystery rather than an action movie, even though we already know what the problem is because it's revealed in the trailer. We know that the witch is gonna be resurrected and stuff, so it kind of makes the mystery sort of build up a little pointless. Vin Diesel is typical Vin Diesel in this movie, but he's really good at being Vin Diesel. I thought Elijah Wood was a nice touch, and I really liked him in this movie. And Ygritte from Game of Thrones, I probably pronounced that wrong, shows up halfway through this film, and she brought a lot to the table as well. I thought character-wise, all 3 of the characters were interesting, and for the most part, the acting was serviceable or a little good. Nothing great, just, hey, it's not bad. Michael Caine, though, did feel like he was phoning it in just a little bit too much. I think the film had a lot of neat ideas that I really admired. I like at the beginning that Vin Diesel really wasn't the main witch hunter. He was just part of a group of witch hunters that were going to kill the Witch Queen. Like, he wasn't the leader, he was just one of the grunts that just so happened to be just good enough and ended up defeating the Witch Queen. And I thought that was pretty interesting. I also like the twist that connects the Witch Queen with Vin Diesel, and that was pretty damn good. It added a lot more secrets to the whole story, and it added a lot more to Vin Diesel's character as well. Now it's clear that Vin Diesel's character really misses his family, who's been dead for a long, long time. but I think he hides it a little too well during many of the sequences. Like, the only time you understand that he's longing to see his family again only tends to be during these dream sequences and these flashbacks and these moments where he's trapped in a dream. I thought some of those were actually powerful, and I thought some of those scenes actually showed some range to Vin Diesel. That sounds like a crazy thing to say. But when he's not in these flashbacks, when he's not looking into the memories, then he's just sort of, it doesn't really feel like he's a tortured character. I thought the monsters were kind of cool, both the CGI and the practical effect witches. I think when it comes to this film, there's a lot of neat ideas, but they're not fully realized. And overall, the film is just sort of meh. Like, for me, it's not bad enough to be horrible, but it's not good enough to be good either. I can see people liking this and feeling like it's a guilty pleasure movie. And for the most part, this is the best this movie could be, a guilty pleasure. I do like it better than The Seventh Son, which I do like The Seventh Son a little bit, but to me, The Seventh Son was just like, the fights were just so quick and there was not a lot to them. So for me, I'm just going to simply give The Last Witch Hunter 2.5 stars. So have you seen The Last Witch Hunter? What did you think? Did you think it was the worst movie of this year or one of the worst? Or did you feel like it was a guilty pleasure movie for you? As always, this is Bruce Gifford, and this was Just My Opinion.